And for those of you who don't know auditory verbal therapy, it's basically an approach where therapists teach parents how to train children to hear and speak auditorily. And it worked well when I had hearing aids, but when I was completely deaf, it didn't work because I needed enough hearing to be able to learn to hear. Anyways, next. So somewhere along the way, before when I was around about 2 years old, my auditory verbal therapist Leah was talking to a therapist named Judy from Canada, and she had a client who was 4 years old and was hearing the cochlear implant. And in those days, cochlear implant was in clinical trials. They were not approved by FDA, and so and it was also very not widely known then. And my parents were told, all these misconceptions, like, they don't work too well, they're years away until before they will be, good to use and all that. Well, this therapist told my parents, it really works. My client's doing very well. She's able to learn, speak, go for it. So they went to New York University, where it was one of the only hospitals then in the country to do clinical trials for cochlear implants. And when they were there, they met this girl named Caitlin Parton, who was one of the very first children in the country to get an implant. And she was, at that time, 4 years old, and was just hearing, speaking beautifully. And so my parents were like, what, this is it, we're doing it. So, I had my surgery in December, and I became one of the first 200 children in the country to receive the cochlear implant. And then I had my hookup in January, a month later, and that time the doctors told my parents that at the most I would be able to hear environmental sounds, just like cars and all these noises just weren't necessary for safety, like fire drills and all that. So they thought, well, it's better than nothing. And so when I had my hookup, it was one of the best days of my parents' lives, because when I was hearing all these beeps, I was crying, and so they were just clapping, saying, "Rachel, cry, cry," because they were just so happy that I could hear.
Rachel, will you tell about when your mom said
Oh yeah, when my mom says, I turned around and stopped my parents' mouth. And then within 6 months, I made a tremendous progress. I was beginning to be able to understand what people were saying and also to speak for myself. So my parents were saying that, cochlear implants really do work a lot better than what they were told. And then when I was 4 years old, I moved to Atlanta from Boston for my parents' job, and I switched to a different therapist named Marianne Costin, and so I continued to go to therapy. And I was mainstreamed in school throughout my life, and I would be in school once a week, about an hour early, just to go to therapy. And I have to say I was really grateful, because the time is very valuable for my learning to hear and speak. And I really enjoyed going there, because for me, therapy wasn't about, just drilling and flashcards and all that. It was just about having fun, playing and with toys and all these. It was more of like a playtime for me. And then this is